Hello, everyone, and good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. We're going to start this session in about 1 minute. So if people are late, they can join us. So I guess we can start. Um, so hello again. Good evening or good afternoon or good morning. I don't know where you are, but I hope that we have people from all around the world. Today, we're going to present you a new addition to one of ICIJ's most popular projects, which is the Offshore Leaks Database. So let me start briefly by telling you who we are, who ICIJ is. So if you don't know us, we are an organization made of three groups: the staff, like me, the members, like many people all around the world, and the partners, like media organizations. Staff is a group of people that works for ICIJ that is based in many countries. Many of them are in the US, in Europe, in Africa, and we are basically coordinating the effort around every investigation. We are a donor-funded organization, so every donation helps us to run the stories that shake the world. Then you have another group, which is called the ICIJ members. It's a global network of more than 290 investigative journalists, and they are basically sharing tips and network all around the world to be able to run investigation together. And finally, the latest group, as I said, the media partners, they are organizations that work with us, that help us to do the stories we do, and that help us to spread the words when we do an investigation by publishing it on their own media. So why is it important? ICIJ have been working since many, many years in a lot of data leaks, a lot of documents. We got them from different investigations. The first one was more than 12 years. It was the Offshore Leaks database, the Offshore Leaks, sorry. It was the very first investigation on offshore jurisdiction that was based on a trove of document and that was leading an effort with media partners all around the world. For this first investigation, we started to publish uh, data from offshore jurisdiction on our Offshore Leaks database website, but it was the very, very beginning of the project. Then later, 3 years later, in fact, the Panama Papers happened. This project was huge. We got a lot of documents, millions of them, and we decided again to structure those documents, to extract the name of the entities and the name of the people in those documents to publish them on the Offshore Leaks database. Then we got other leaks like Paradise Paper in 2017 that was as big as the Panama Papers, and even bigger, 4 years later, the Pandora Papers. So this is important because all those investigations had in common to be focused on offshore jurisdictions. And as you know, offshore jurisdictions that we often designate as tax havens are areas where there is no transparency, where you cannot find a public registry of companies. So it's really hard to investigate who has a company in those jurisdictions. Because of the absence of transparency in those jurisdictions, this is also the reason why many people use them to create, tax evasion schemes, or they use them to hide their identity. Um, This is why our data is so priceless. At ICIJ, we really believe that we have data that can help hundreds of journalists all around the world to do their job by checking the identity of those companies in offshore jurisdiction, and to also find stories based on the documents we have. And because we have data in such different formats, it's sometimes hard to explore it. And this is why our data team have been working since many, many years into transforming those leaks we have into a searchable database. And this is the Offshore Leaks database that you might have already used before. So who uses the Offshore Leaks database now? Well, we know that many audit firms use it to do due diligence and assess compliance risk for their clients. We also know that the tax authorities used it as well. We know that they managed to get a lot of money from taxpayers through these data sets, and I think it's a huge impact for our data team. And finally, many journalists around the world want to use this data set to find potential stories. And this is one of the most important parts of the Offshore Leaks database. It's really a way to continue the investigation after it was published. ICIJ spent months working on the Pandora paper, and once it's done, once the partners are done working on that topic, it's very important that we continue to find stories in those documents, and so we continue to publish important facts based on the leak we have. There are other organizations that tries to address this very same problem. I took two examples, but there are many regarding transparency, bringing more transparency to offshore jurisdiction. There is Open Corporate, that is a huge database of legal entities, and it's amazing, and we use it a lot to fact check our own data. And secondly, there is Open Sanction, that is also an amazing tool to find, sanctions, but also a lot of data sets, either from offshore jurisdiction or for our Western democracy. Then there is another set of organizations that have similar objective, that tries to define the standard to publish this kind of information. So I selected only two. The first one is Open Ownership. They have a standard they call the Beneficial Ownership Data Standard, and that is basically a way to structure the data to be more transparent about ultimate beneficial owner. And there is also the Follow the Money, which comes from our friends at OCCRP that build a standard to basically help with data-driven investigations. And so one of the issues we tried to solve with this project was to find a way to connect all those projects together with our Offshore Leaks database. This is where the API play a big role. Before building the API, we ran a user study with maybe you in that chat and many other people in the world to ask them what they wanted from this API, what they could use if we were improving our Offshore Leaks database with an API. And as you can see on the right, the very first need they expressed was the ability to search a list of multiple terms. So this is one of the reasons why we focused on that specific topic at first. It's also very funny because for us, batch searches, the ability to search many terms at once, is also one of the key features we have in our own system, internal system, when we run our own investigation in leaked documents. And it was very interesting to see that even for the public, that was one of the most important features. So yeah, thanks to this user survey, we decided to prioritize this set of features, and we really try to bring new features that were targeting what we call power users of the OLDB. So the users I mentioned before, like journalists, audit firms, etc. This was also the opportunity to explore different kind of what do you say, different kind of integration of our data. We really wanted to know where our user wanted to integrate our data. So that user survey was interesting, and it was also one of the reasons why we decided to implement different data protocols. So the API is not just one API. In fact, it's a set of APIs. We have 5 APIs now that work all together. The first one that is still restricted to private users, but we will open it probably next week to everyone. It's basically a way to explore our data into a structured format. And one of the important things with that API is the fact that it supports different data structure. The OLDB one, which is the original data structure we use in OLDB, and it supports the follow the money structure. So all our data is compliant with these different data standards. We are also working on implementing other data standards, like the one I mentioned before, BODS. It's probably the next one we're going to add to that list of supported data structure. The second very important API we developed was the reconciliation API. So I will do a demo after to show you how you can use this API to basically connect your own data with the Offshore Leaks database. We also have a suggest API that allows you to build text suggestions based on our data. We have a data extension API that allows you to extend your data to add new field based on the Offshore Leaks database. And finally, we have what we call namespace API, which are basically the reconciliation APIs, but really filtered for each investigation. So if you want to focus on a specific dataset, you can use all the features I mentioned before, but targeted on that investigation. So now I'm going to do a small demo about how to use the reconciliation API. So there is a video recording for those who cannot attend this session and that want to reproduce that operation at home. But I'm going to do a live demo because it's much more interesting. So for this project example, we're going to use Open Sanction. So this great project I mentioned before. Open Sanction has a list of Russian oligarch and billionaire database, which is very well done and that can be used for our own investigation. So if you check this database, you might see that they have a list of names, like many names. Here it's just a sample, but you have much more. And you might be tempted to just, take a name like that by hand, copy, paste, and search the name in the Offshore Leaks database. And you see it's a very manual process. You have to type the name by hand, and you have to scroll down to see who might be the person or the officers in the database that match with that name. So now this database is very big. I think it has, let me check, 166 sanctioned people. And so you're not going to do, a search for everyone one by one. So this is where the reconciliation API is important. So from this website, you can just download the data. It's open here in source.csv. And you can load this data in your favorite data analysis tool. For this example, I'm going to use OpenRefine. OpenRefine is an amazing open source tool that all data journalists around the world use. It's very popular, it's very powerful, and it's also able to work with reconciliation APIs. So I'm not going to show you how to install it, but basically you install it in a few clicks, you start OpenRefine, and then you are able to send the dataset. So here you see that's the Russian oligarch billionaire database. There are many records. I cleaned the database a little bit to remove the columns for the sake of simplicity for this example. And as you can see, I can explore the name one by one. And now, what if I want to cross this data with the Offshore Leaks database? You just click here on name. There is a small caret here. You choose reconcile and start reconciling. Now you can see that they offer an existing reconciliation API, the one from Wikidata, but there is no Offshore Leaks database reconciliation API. So it's very simple. To edit, you just need the URL of the reconciliation API. To find it, it's here on the Offshore Leaks database. If you scroll down on the search, here there is a new widget with reconciliation API. And here you have this URL that you can just copy, go back to OpenRefine, add standard service, because we follow the standards, so it should work. I hope it will. And then you just add the service, and it's recognized by OpenRefine. Then you click on Next. Because of the format of the API, you are able to choose what kind of information you want to search into our database. So we offer 6 different data type nodes, which is the most generic one that includes all data points. You can focus on addresses, on offshore entities, intermediaries, officers, or others. And for this example, I'm going to focus on officers, so people that have a mandate in an offshore company. I'm not going to check any other preference. I'm just going to start reconciling. And you're going to see that here you have a loader, and it's pretty quick. So it already searched, a big part of the data set. And after a few minutes, it's going to be able, even a few seconds, it's going to be able to give us the results of this operation. And now it's done. As you can see, OpenRefine created 2 filters on the left. The first one is all the matches. So if I click on match, I will see that there are 41 people that match with our data in the Offshore database. And if I just over this, I can see that there is a widget of that person in our data directly on our website. I can also filter by score. So that's basically a way to only have a certain level of certainty. So here I just kept a small portion. And you can also work on the people that did not match with the data. So if I click on none, for instance, I will get, all those people that have a similar name, but that were not close enough to the name we have in our database to make the match automatically. And if you go down, you will see that there are a few that might be a match. For instance, Iskander Makhmutov, that is written in Iskandar in our data, and that might be the correct person. So you just click here, and that makes the reconciliation effective. That's the first step. That's an easy way to know if people in your data have matches in the Offshore Leaks database, but you might want to go a step further. You might want to extend your own data with what we have in the Offshore Leaks database. To do so, you go here on the column where you have the reconciliation done, and you click on the small caret again. You can go back to the reconcile menu and say that you want to add, sorry, no, it's not here, sorry, it's here. Edit column and add column from reconciled values. So here, OpenRefine is telling me which kind of information we have in the database. Currently, it's kind of limited. It's only the country code. the date until this node was valid in our data, the ID that we use, the name we use in our data, the node we added to the entity, and finally the source of the data. So for this example, I'm just going to use source of the data. If I click on it, it's going to basically tell me for each node in my data set in which investigation ICIJ found them. And so just click on OK. And very quickly, you see it's already progressing off of it. And very quickly, it's going to import all the data from the Offshore Leaks database automatically. And as you can see now, I could make a match between that person and our data. So that's the power of reconciliation API. So what's next? We're going to continue to add more data standard to the Offshore Leaks database. We want to be able to cross our data with a maximum number of data providers. And we're also going to add more search features like regexes, many filters, and many ways to narrow down research through the API. I should have said before, but this was made possible because of the help of our founders. So if you like this presentation, please consider donating to ICIJ. Thank you very, very much. Have a nice day.